Next up, we'd like to introduce the more academic side of our program today. So we have Dr. Gordon Anderson. He's a Ph.D. in a philosophy of religion with a minor in peace studies from Claremont Graduate University. And as the Secretary General of the Professors World Peace Academy, he organized comprehensive academic conferences on world social systems together with the late Professor Morton A. Kaplan at the University of Chicago. So he is the author of a book called Integral Society or Integral Society, Social Institutions and Individual Sovereignty. So Dr. Anderson is going to share with us some of the principles that he's developed around this whole idea of like what a headwing economy would look like. If you want to share your presentation and take it away, Gordon.
Well, thank you, Roger, and thank you to the speakers who came ahead of me. I really appreciate what they have to say, and what they say dovetails nicely, I think, with some of my more theoretical and policy-oriented ideas, which I'm going to present in a slide presentation, which I will put up on the screen. The title here is Integral Society and Economic Sustainability, Body, Wings, Spheres, and Levels. I want to try to present a big overview of all the kinds of things we need to be thinking of. And if you're religious, you could say these are the things God has to think of because they're all existing and we can't just have one without the other. So I chose the image of this bird because Alan asked me to talk about Headwing society, and birds have wings, of course, and a head. Traditionally, I've been using another theory to explain some of these same principles. It's Ken Wilber's diagrams, and I think you can use probably a number of different schematic ways of trying to get a big overview. But in this picture, we've got the left wing being impersonal social institutions, the right wing being individual moral agents. So those three speakers that we've just had have been obviously very good individual moral agents. And of course, some institutions need to regulate behavior, and all those relationships that take place in the body are the importance. That's society. That's where everything happens. Relationships are at the center of happiness and everything, and it should be centered on the head. And that head needs to have a consciousness adequate to guiding the whole system. So one of the issues is in society is we have several levels. There are personal relationships. Moral agents can have personal relationships, individual, family, community. We relate to one another personally with honesty and integrity. Then there are impersonal ethical institutions, city, state, religion, world. People don't know each other, but somehow they have to be guided by the same ethical framework so that everything works, even when people don't know each other. Otherwise, you can't get beyond the tribal level and have a civilization or a larger society. And the third important view here that I want to share is that culture, economy, and governance, they're all located in the body, all guided by the head and informed by both wings, but they are three separate spheres of society. So we have spheres, levels, and wings. Headwing society centers on the head. All levels, all spheres, the body and the wings have to relate to the head, which should have what I would say an integral consciousness. If you're religious, it would be a God consciousness. The head guides all parts of society. Society is not integral or harmonious if one level, one sphere, one wing, or one part of the body tries to control everything else or the entire society. This causes social fragmentation as we see everywhere today. Like individuals, the consciousness of the head of society develops as it learns and evolves. Integral consciousness is a level of consciousness in which all the parts of the body or of society are designed to relate harmoniously, centered on the head. As consciousness evolves beyond integral, all of the parts are raised to even higher levels of truth, beauty, and goodness. Integral consciousness is the floor of a sustainable society, but higher levels of consciousness approach divine consciousness and even divine society as a goal. So a Headwing society is integral. A sustainable society must be integral, in other words, function harmoniously with all the social organs, which are institutions, working together to serve individuals in the whole. An integral society consists of the head, body, wings, levels, and spheres. Traditional societies develop norms for individual behavior at personal levels of society. The 10 Commandments are bullet points for traditional behavioral norms. Now, you've heard the idea of honesty as one of those emphasized by the last speaker. In the West, the consciousness of these norms and others in the head is instilled into individuals by families and communities. Then these individuals can be positive moral agents whose actions in the body support goodness and sustainability. Modern society has large-scale and complex institutions for dealing with millions of people. These institutions are tools designed to enable peace and justice at impersonal levels of society. They kind of hold the whole thing together from the outside as a framework. Unfortunately, institutions are easily hijacked, self-serving, or abandon their mission when social consciousness is less than integral. Headwing consciousness supports the principles by which social institutions can be harmonious and serve the whole of society. Impersonal social institutions on the left wing of society are tools that operate as an ethical framework, just as individuals on the right wing serve as moral agents. This distinction should be embedded in the consciousness of the head and the entire society. So let's just give a couple points about the right wing. Individual moral agents are raised to maturity with a headwing consciousness on the right, so they can engage in loving, productive, and harmonious relationships in the body of society, all spheres and at all levels. This consciousness and the freedom of individuals to produce and exchange is the economic engine of society. This is what Mr. Rogers was explaining from Singapore. Free individuals desiring to care for themselves and others will produce, innovate, and cooperate, creating a prosperous and sustainable economic sphere. Individuals need security and laws to protect life, liberty, and property in their pursuit of happiness. Individuals who attain an integral consciousness will create ethical left-wing institutions for such an integral sphere of governance. The left wing, impersonal social institutions. This is primarily not the personal level where you're in face to face, but where you're in a society of millions of people where they need to be treated the same. The left wing of society is the impersonal institutions. They provide the ethical framework. Like the organs of the human body, they should function harmoniously at all levels and at all spheres of society. Impersonal institutions in the cultural sphere, religion, schools, universities, and the media can contribute to knowledge to advance ever-developing headwing consciousness. Institutions in the economic sphere can improve and finance the production of goods and services. Institutions in the sphere of governance, like states, courts, and police, should referee the behavior and the actions of both individuals and their use of institutions. Impersonal institutions are tools created with a purpose, structure, and rules. Hegel explained that they have an objective consciousness, which is different from the kind of subjective consciousness an individual moral agent who can care, love, or serve personally has. Impersonal institutions are easily hijacked or gamed to exploit the people they are intended to serve. Then they become socially dysfunctional and destructive. History has provided basic commandments for individual behavior in society, but we have not developed analogous rules for impersonal institutions. I want to try to articulate a couple of things that I think are important that should become like the 10 Commandments for social institutions. Individuals are the subjective sovereigns who cooperatively create impersonal institutions as tools of prosperity, peace, and happiness. Institutions should not be worshipped as gods or treated as persons or subjects. Impersonal institutions should be transparent and accountable to individuals. Impersonal institutions should fulfill a purpose and provide an ethical framework that reflects the harmony of integral consciousness. Mechanisms to prevent their abuse and heal when are wounded are necessary. I think of Reagan's statement that there's nothing more permanent than a bureaucracy, something harder to kill. Well, we need to develop mechanisms so that they just naturally transform when they get abused. Institutions should not treat citizens as objects. Impersonal institutions should provide every individual an opportunity to prosper and achieve happiness within boundaries that do not deprive others of those opportunities. And institutions should not take the mission, property, or control of another social institution. That's like a tool stealing a tool. The body of society, all relationships, in all spheres and at all levels. This includes our relationship at home, our marriage, our family, friends, work, community, all the economic production we do, enjoying art, sports, music, and recreation. It includes our relationship with the natural world and the human created world of machines and social institutions. These are all relationships that go on in the body of society. Right-wing thought focuses on the values and freedom necessary for individual moral agents' good actions in the body of society. Left-wing thought focuses on the functions and principles to create harmonious, impersonal social institutions as the ethical framework for the relations in the body. Both wings serve the body. Integral relationships in the body should reflect, as I said before, an integral headwing consciousness. Relationships that honor traditional wisdom but are seeking improvement. Relationships that promote love, truth, beauty, and goodness. Relationships that promote creativity, coexistence, co-prosperity, and common cause. Now, I want to just say that we can see in different parts of the world how just parts of this theory are practiced. In Confucian thought, the focus is on the body, and Confucian thought focuses on rules for harmonious relationships. Confucian consciousness seeks to maintain the existing body. These are hierarchy and reciprocity, filial piety, mutual respect, fulfilling one's duties, role-based ethics. However, this consciousness leads to social stagnation. So we could see that China in its glory for 1,000 years was largely a peasant society. Now, Protestantism represents the right wing. Protestantism focuses on God consciousness of individuals. It supports right-wing development. However, it can downplay the role of institutions on the left and happy relationships in the body of society, which are also necessary. Now, socialist thought is kind of focused on the left wing, but again, it wants that wing to control everything else. Socialist thought focuses on creating social institutions that promote social justice. However, it treats institutions as gods and subjects and individuals with only an objective instrumental value in a system that dictators control. Headwing thought integrates all three parts. Headwing thought guides and is infused in the relationships in the body, the moral agency of individuals, and the ethical framework of the institutions. So we're talking about economy today, so I've just got a couple of comments on what this all means for economy. The economy is only one of the spheres in the body of society. In achieving a headwing economy, individual moral agents are the sovereigns and the stewards of all wealth. Practically, we can refer to stewardship as ownership, even though individuals are not the ultimate owners. We might leave that to God. Individuals can be land and asset owners, shareholders in institutions, employees, taxpayers. Economic institutions are tools that facilitate the production and exchange of goods and services in the body of society. They should be governed to enable the widest and most ethical distribution of wealth to all individuals who are subjective moral agents. Institutions as tools should not own or be taxed, but the individuals who own them. Corporations should not own other corporations or control institutions or culture or governance. This is an inherently corrupt process used to escape accountability and centralize wealth. Each economic institution should perform a social function that serves its individual owners and the body of society, not other institutions. Political and cultural institutions should not own businesses. The role of government is referee, not owner. The role of an NGO is that of a servant, not an owner. Individuals can pay taxes to governments, give donations to charities in a headwing society. Any institution that controls
Usurps.
other institutions usurps the sovereignty or wealth from individuals. A little bit
All right,
about money and banking.
Gordon, would you be able to wrap up in about 2 to 3 minutes so we can leave time for discussion?
Yes,
Thanks.
money is a means of exchange. It is an abstract representation of wealth, but not a physical asset itself. Money should be owned by individuals who are moral agents and sovereigns, not institutions. Banks are institutional tools that store and lend money for a fee, but as institutions, they are stewards of people's money and should not own money or any corporation. Depositors should own any money that the bank lends for them, including the large interest derived from fractional reserve banking. When banks steal this fractional reserve interest, they use the institution to exploit depositors. Bank owners or shareholders should only derive profits from earned services on fees, not the abuse of depositors' savings. There should be no Federal Reserve that diverts wealth to elites, but a money supply agency that prints money and keeps a ledger with banks for a fee. No government should be able to directly use the money it prints. This is a form of legal counterfeiting that enables the government to escape its financial control by the citizens. Governments must live on taxes or loans backed by collateral, not citizen debt. That would be a tool making a person its slave. Similar principles apply to brokerage firms. And in short, let's stand the World Economic Forum on its head and say institutions should own nothing and be happy. They are tools to serve the happiness of individuals engaged in social relations, not tools for elites to control the masses. So I will just let you quickly glance that summary, and then a couple of recommendations at the end. Wealth metrics like GDP that measure the wealth of the state and impersonal institutions should be replaced by metrics that measure the collective wealth and its distribution among individuals. That would be a median, not averages like GDP that can have 1% of the population owning 90% of the wealth. And secondly, the reversal of dominion in the cultural sphere came about with the Protestant Reformation. The reversal in the political sphere came about with the development of representative democracy, and the reversal in the economic sphere has yet to take place. When economic institutions are controlled by individual owners and not other institutions, we will see a more prosperous, sustainable, and just economic development. And there's a little advertisement for my book, which is focused on the relationship between institutions and individual sovereignty.
So Gordon, first up, your presentation, it's like a constitution, a new constitution for a new economic system, right? Is that kind of what you're trying to
In
get at?
my book, I have a new Declaration of Independence and a new updated Constitution of the United States, which both those original documents were for individuals and families, of which 90%, 95% of our economy was based on individual family, farmers, landowners, and businesses. So yes, we need to update our regulations so that institutions are treated not only just individuals by the Constitution.
Hmm. Yeah, it was interesting. You said, I think, that institutions should not be taxed, but only individuals. Is that correct?
Yes.
Could you elaborate on that a little bit? I
Yeah, an
think,
institution is a tool. So you don't like tax a wrench when you create a wrench. You should, people are very greedy and they see that there's might be money concentrated in institutions. So especially governments go after that. But in every time they do that, they're taking money that should have gone to the individuals. So for example, corporations today are taxed before dividends are paid. So the CEOs will do everything to spend down any profits to avoid the tax, and then there's nothing left to pay in dividends to the investors. To actually spread the wealth, you need a different dynamic. You need to pay the dividends and maybe even have a regulation that would force a corporation to pay 30% of its profits to its stockholders, rather than forcing it to pay 30% of its profit to the government before the stockholders get anything. That
it's a,
spreads out the ownership.
that is a very interesting way of thinking of it because most people think, okay, these companies are making so much money, we should tax them more, right? But you're saying actually, the more you tax them, the more counterproductive it is.
Yes, not only is it end up getting less money to the government because corporations will do everything. 85% of our corporations don't pay tax because, and I run a corporation and I
Right.
know what the motivations are. You don't want to show any tax on the bottom line, so you can have parties, you can place frivolous advertisements in brochures to proclaim your ego. You can do all kinds of things, pay CEOs extra money,
Yeah.
give extra profit sharing to employees, but do everything to avoid paying the owners,
All right.
paying the government, which means the owners don't get paid. So you can invest. You should be making a lot more on your shares, and people should theoretically maybe be making 10 more times income on their investments than they do.
Yeah, I wish I was. Okay.
And then if you were, you would pay tax on that to the government.
That's right. Alan, you've got your hand up there. Would you like to unmute and make your comments?
Yeah, I put it in the chat. I think you have to start with shrinking government as per Ronald Reagan. He found a way to be able to do that and then build more wealth through small businesses and businesses. Create a tax that's equal for everyone. And then the third would be to separate money from the government, which removes inflation, and get rid of the Federal Reserve. So any thoughts, Gordon?
Yes, well, I mentioned that the Federal Reserve really should own nothing. It should, it's called a reserve because it has all these stores of gold that actually shouldn't have any. It should, I believe that the Treasury ought to have an agency. It could be separated that prints money, but it all goes through local banks, and it's just a ledger. And the government cannot steal or print money. The states have to follow that rule. The states don't print the money, so the states have to balance their budget. The institution that prints the money should have no access to that money. It should only be an agent that manages that money for a fee. So the federal government should have no access to no first access. I think Wayne Miller's son was saying in a previous meeting we had here that one of his concerns as a banker was the way money enters the economy. It enters through the elites rather than through the banks to individuals for home mortgages and small businesses.
Yeah.
So it's just concentrated in ways that are immoral, and that partly comes from when corporations or governments control other institutions.